Welcome to the conversation.
We are now.
We're in the green room at McCurdy's Comedy Theater. This is Conversation, and we're with the comics this week. As always, we say for the thousands and hundreds of thousands of you that know this podcast so well, hundreds of thousands. So many of them don't speak English, Jim, but that's okay.
Huge in Bosnia, I heard.
Huge, humongous. And so anyway, it's just our natural conversation as much as we can make it that way with a microphone in front of our face, just sitting here chatting. And this week, Jim McCue, that's who was just talking over there. That was the voice, Jim McCue, from Boston Comedy Festival, Boston Comedy Competition. Are you the tallest comic in Boston?
Yes, I am.
You are the tallest comic.
Well, no, me and Gary Goldman are about...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, about equal.
I didn't know. I was forgetting that he was a Boston comedian.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, he must be close. So there you go. So if someone aspires to be the tallest comic in Boston, the guy goes 6'7"?
6'7".
6'7". Okay. And
It's good when you start out in comedy because you start out in like really horrible places and you're doing comedy on the floor in front of dartboards.
Right.
And if you're tall, you kind of bring your own stage with you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You make it appear there's a stage.
I don't need an 8-inch riser to be seen, you know.
You've never needed an 8-inch riser.
I used to be 6'7".
You were.
Yeah, but as you get older, you really get shorter.
You do shrink. Oh, you can drop that down. It's Ron Modell talking over there.
Hey, Ron.
There. Let's see.
How you guys doing tonight?
We couldn't be better. Now we're there. Yeah. So that is, and I do this thing called rolfing. You ever heard of it?
No.
Rolfing. Rolfing is, it's people like to compare it to massage, to therapeutic massage, but it's different. A rolfer, your body is encased in something called a fascia. It's like a sausage. Like the skin on the outside of a sausage that holds the sausage together.
Yes.
Well, between your skin, between your epidermis and your dermis, and your organs, there's that layer of fascia, I believe it's pronounced, that you're encased in.
Okay.
And so what a rolfer does is tries to manipulate the fascia so that your body goes back into form the way it should be. Over the years, there's a certain structure we all should carry, right, to our frame. There's a certain posture we should carry there. And over the years, through bad habits and simple gravity and that sort of thing, we all get out of whack. Right? So chiropractors adjust your bones, your spine. A rolfer adjusts your fascia to get your organs to fall back where they should, to get your muscles to fall back, to try to get... I call her more, the girl that does it here, Ione, which her sister, Edith, is her sister that works here. I call her kind of my body coach because she'll watch me walk around, how you sit, how you stand, and so a big thing with her was we started working after I'd gone to her maybe 5 or 6 times, and she was like, you really want to get a little more intense with this? And she goes, because I want to get you lengthened out. And her thing was that thing of getting shorter as you get older. Of course, naturally, yes, your spine is going to compress. Things like are going to fall in. But she says a lot of that is just you settling rather than staying length. So she actually, so I do a lot of stretches in this, that, and the other. But she actually, like a kid, we marked my height on the wall.
Okay.
When we go in. So she goes, I would like to see us in a year get you at least a 1/4 inch taller to a half. And I know she asked me, she goes, how tall are you? And I said, I'm 5'7". And she goes, you're probably 5'8", 5'8 and a half. Probably really. She was just looking at you, just looking at how you're kind of
posture.
Your posture is and everything,
Okay.
And so it's interesting,
Yeah.
But because so her thought is you can counteract that somewhat
You know what's going to crush Les?
Not totally, huh?
He's going to get an extra inch and a half, and it's going to ruin his golf swing.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna keep missing the fucking ball.
You're going to top
Yeah.
it.
I'm
You're
gonna
topping
top
the
it
ball
every fucking
every
time.
shot.
What happened? I grew.
Ground balls.
I grew.
The whole thing is to try to stay erect your whole life.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Not on public transportation.
Get
Other than that.
your fucking head up.
Absolutely.
Head up. That was another thing I read too that said one of the reasons a lot of people fall more when they get older is that when you're young, you don't watch your feet when you're walking.
No.
Yeah.
But when you get older, you have a tendency to want to look down and watch your feet more. And they said that gets your eyes moving towards the ground, and
Your head
you have a
follows.
tendency to get out of whack, out of balance.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
They teach that with running though. Like if you're
Is that it?
running, you shouldn't be looking down because your head will follow, and then you'll be out of balance. And the next thing you know, you're running forward, and then you'll eat shit. So,
Plus, you have to have nice feet to look at. If you don't like your feet,
Well, there's another thing when you get older.
Right.
Your feet go gnarly.
absolutely, absolutely.
My dad, that was one of the things when I married Pam, before I married Pam, I'd never had a massage, I'd never had a pedicure, of course.
Right.
There's no way in God's green earth I was going to spend that money on that.
Right.
But then as soon as you do it, you're like, shit, this is great. You know? And once I started getting pedicures, man, when my dad got, by the time he was my age now, 65, his feet were fucked up. Those toenails.
Yeah.
You needed hedge clippers to cut them damn toenails. You know what I mean? And you know, and it's just, and I was like, I am not, and I go, hell, that's me.
Yep.
You know, and I go, I am not going to let that happen as much as I can. I'm going to take care of my damn feet. You know
My
what they
grandfather
teach
used to always say that. Take care of your feet.
That's what they
Absolutely.
teach in the
Your feet.
army, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Feet's like
Yeah.
the number one thing you take.
Can't do
care
anything
of.
without your feet.
Right.
And you have a favorite pair of shoes
Yeah.
that feels just right.
Yeah.
What do they say? They say spend the most money on your shoes and your mattress.
Yeah.
True. That's true.
Uh huh.
Yep.
And most people have a piece of shit mattress.
I know.
Right. Because you go to spend the money, and you're like, what's the cheapest one you got?
Because mattresses are fucking
Oh, they're
expensive.
big money.
I went. Have you ever tried one of those sleep number beds?
No.
No. I've
Just-
seen them.
Just when that.
I've used them in hotels.
Oh really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh okay. I've never seen one in a hotel.
You know what? I almost lost sleep because I was so concerned about trying to figure out what my number was. It was like 3 hours of trial. Am I an 8 or 9 or I don't know. I like that. It's like when you go to the eye doctor, better or worse? I don't know anymore. I don't know.
I just went through that. I had cataract surgery last year. I was at the eye doctor, and then you kept going better, worse, better, worse. I kept going same.
You get flustered. You don't know anymore.
It's true. It's true.
You don't hold up under questioning.
No idea. Oh God, we did a. I was going to say we did a. If you ever around a sleep number bed store, go in and just say, "Hey man, I've heard about it. Could you give me a demonstration?" And it's pretty cool. You know the shit those beds will do.
Yeah.
You know we've talked about, it, but they're an investment. I mean, fuck. I think the.
What was it, like $3,000 or something? Or
Oh
$5,000
no!
more?
Well, I think around 4 or 5 for the
entry level.
basic
Yeah.
entry level. But if you get all the bells and whistles, where it'll raise up and the feet will raise and all the has memory that adjusts.
yeah.
And all, you get all that shit. You're talking about for a queen or king size bed. I think it was getting there close to $10,000.
I went in about a year ago with
Like
my
a
dad
car, you
to
know.
help him look at a bed. We said, we'll just look in here. And I just looked at the showroom. And I was like, yeah, this ain't the right place.
No.
Because I knew it was going to be, heart palpitations. You know?
Right. No,
Because he was going to go, for a bed?
right.
He was like, come with somebody?
Right.
yeah, right.
And then with the sleep number bed, there's a top piece on it, and you're supposed to change that out, I think, every 2 years, and it's a couple $100.
There you go.
know. But it is. It's like you're getting that bed. You're financing that bed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. You know.
Absolutely.
But But I know people that have it, and the ones that do,
They swear by
they
it.
swear by it. I've never had anybody that had one. I've had people get the memory foam beds and not like them because they felt kind of trapped.
Right, getting
like
out of one.
cocooned in them, kind of.
Really?
Yep.
And Pam slept in one. She goes, I felt hot. You know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like I was getting hot, and then I couldn't move around.
You feel like you got SpongeBob SquarePants has you in an
Yeah.
arm bar.
Yeah.
Sleeper hole.
But the nice thing is that your partner can roll around and you can't feel them.
Right.
I guess if that's a thing. But they also said you got to snore like
I haven't
me.
wrote a bit about this yet, but I want to. My wife has nightmares and punches and kicks in her sleep.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's interesting.
yeah.
Or at least she says she's sleeping.
Yeah.
I know I deserve it either way.
I always like
You
that.
ever punch back?
No.
No.
I'm a runner, man. I don't.
Just a shove.
No.
Pam shoves me. Roll over. I'm a snorer. I'm a bad snorer.
Yeah. I think everybody snores though, isn't it? Like
Yeah, I think, yeah.
everybody snores. Like
my
in some
sinuses
weird
aren't
way.
great.
Yeah.
So we just keep rolling while the show's rolling.
Yeah. We just keep talking.
All right.
I always like that joke about the little Jewish guy that walked into the furniture store and he said, "Could you show me something in a sexual couch?" And the woman said, "Don't you mean sectional?" He said, "I don't know what you call it, as long as I get an occasional piece."
That's how you know you're going to pay a lot for furniture, by the way. If they say, I got a chair for you, that's going to be reasonable. But if they say, let me show you this piece over here,
Yeah, a piece.
that's going to be payments.
Oh boy.
If it's a piece, it's a work of art.
like it's art. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it's
yeah.
a chair,
Yeah.
Yes.
everyone can afford a chair.
Absolutely.
There's a designer.
This piece in the
so-
corner, let me get the lighting. You know,
Just right.
Yeah, right.
It's made in France.
I'm like, you don't want to. You know what? I'm gonna put on that chair. It ain't art, believe me.
yeah, exactly. Oh man.
So what kind? What's the name of this podcast we're doing?
It's called The Conversation.
The Conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We looked it up, and there's not another podcast called The Conversation. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is either a good or a bad thing. Maybe it's a bad name.
I don't know.
You
I
know?
don't know. I can't figure out what the thing is. You know, I used to have the Boston Comedy Festival podcast and the McCue Report, and I ditched both of those,
Yeah.
and now I do the big comedy festival podcast. I try to combine them, and even now I'm thinking of rethinking that.
Oh, that's pretty inviting. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like an important.
Well, you know what I wanted to do? Instead of just doing the Boston Comedy Festival, I wanted to go to other people's comedy festivals
Oh, okay.
and interview people there or people that are going to festivals and kind of get the, you know.
So you could just do your own, like, interview
It's just,
kind of
yeah,
stuff?
it's just a festival
Oh, that'd be cool.
kind of, because there's so many festivals that have popped up now.
Yeah.
I'd like to go around to other people's festivals. I have more fun at other people's festivals than mine. Mine is work.
Right.
You know, I want to hang out with the comedians and like we're doing
Oh,
here.
it's probably stressful as hell putting on your own festival.
Can I pitch a book?
yeah.
I just got a book from a famous author who's also a great comedian and a new good friend of mine, Ron Modell. It's called Loved Being Here With You. And this guy is killing them all week long, and he's so thoughtful.
Yeah.
Signed a book and brought it in for me today, Ron. Thank you so much.
Oh,
What's
it's
this
my
about?
pleasure.
Give me a story out of this book.
Well, it's really my whole life, starting with, just to give you an idea of the book, for the first 2.5 years of my life, I never said a word. I mean, no mama, no dada, no. 2.5 years. And I had an older brother who was 3 years older, and usually kids will copy their
Right.
siblings.
Yeah.
And my mother was panicking. She took me to hearing tests. She took me all over to see
That
if
sounds
there
like
was
Einstein, I think, was like that.
no, but what I would do was my mother said I would point my finger and just go,
Yeah.
That was it for 2.5 years.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm 2.5 years old. My mother and father are driving in the front part of the car. My brother Sandy and I are in the back.
Yeah.
We're going to Brooklyn to see my father's parents, my grandparents, and we're stopped 1 block off of the Brooklyn Bridge, and here's a big movie marquee, the Brooklyn Paramount.
Okay.
The light is red now. The light changes, and as my father tries to go straight, a little dog, cute little dog, ran out in front of my father's car and got frightened because every place my father tried to go, the dog went.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, from the back of this car, and this is the God's honest truth, a voice came and said, somebody tell that son of a bitch and dog to get out of the way. My father went right up on the curb of the street.
Oh my
The
God.
front door flew open where my mother was.
Yeah.
Thank God nobody got hit. There was no damage.
Yeah.
But my mother turned around and said to my brother, Sandy, did you say that? He said, no, Ronnie said it. She said, say it again. So I said it again. Somebody get that son of a bitch. They ran me out to the grandparents. Say it for Grandma and Grandpa. Then they ran back to the Bronx. Say it for this Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of my life. And after that, everything was a ball.
It's all downhill from there.
But it took me through my first 15 or 20 years of playing in a major symphony orchestra and opera. And then because there wasn't enough money to make during those times, they only had a 25-week season. What did you do the other 27 weeks? I went up to the Catskill Mountains and played in a resort hotel.
No, okay.
That's cool.
And then after 10 years of, 18 summers I played in the Catskills. But
That's kind of a magical thing that
Oh, it
we'll never
was.
see again. Like
No,
the Catskills. All these
training
people would
ground.
travel up there and summer up there, and they did get dressed in those days.
oh, yes. On a Saturday night, it was all tuxedo and white dinner jackets.
Yeah.
Wow.
But,
They invented the buffet there.
yes. And they were like locusts.
Yeah.
You know, Jewish people don't drink usually.
Right.
I asked the bartender one night, how many drinks did you serve? He said, well, there were 500 people there, I think 1,500. They,
You know-
everything was for free.
Right.
Okay, so obviously Jim McCue, I'm Irish, right? So a few years back, we had my 50th birthday party. Back in my hometown. We rent the hall. I met all my old friends. And my wife, her maiden name is Giordano. So she's buying all this food. I go, you don't, no, stop. And we're arguing. I go, stop spending all this money on food. They're not going to eat the food. Well, what are they going to do? I said, they're going to line up at the bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And she won't believe me.
yeah.
And we had all this food. We couldn't give it away.
Yeah.
And it was like, I said,
That's the way it is.
Liquid dinner.
But I'll tell you, if you want to go to a good wedding, go to an Irish-Italian wedding because they got really good food and an open bar.
yeah.
Open bar.
Yeah. Exactly. That's great. So now we just sit here. Yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing comedy?
A little bit over 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. Still a baby. Just trying to figure. I started here. So,
Yeah, no, it's great.
I love it here. Yeah.
You know what's great is you have all these other skills, these,
Yeah. AV skills. and
AV
stuff.
skills. I
Yeah.
want to learn that stuff, man.
It's just patience. Like a lot of like comics my age will make like jokes about like their parents trying to learn computers and stuff like
Sure.
that. And I honestly think that it's just patience.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that people like of your generation
Where does this podcast live? Is it go to LibSync or
Podbean,
okay?
which
okay.
I think you actually were the one that pitched that.
Yeah, that's
to
one
us.
of two that I read and
Right.
saw on YouTube. Where those are
Right.
the top two. But I was going to ask you if you went to LibSync. I want somebody.
I never
who
heard
know-
of lip sync. What's that?
Someone who understands. Well, I could show you on my. I'll bring my laptop in if you're in here again.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I'm getting my thing posted everywhere it's supposed to get posted. And I wish I could get somebody else that knew what they were doing to look at it.
Like
you
a
know?
producer kind of guy.
Yeah. Anyway, so
That's what I do basically. I just try to keep the conversation.
do you do all the
going.
graphic art, the posters I see on the internet and all that stuff?
No, that was Kevin. Kevin
He's got a
does that.
team here now. Do you need a little help with that door? All right.
Is it? It's not opening.
What's wrong? Let's lock you out. That's what happened. We got a lock here. No, that's worse. We should lock him out.
There you go. Kick open the door.
He's got another 5-10 minutes.
Well, I remember when I started podcasting, I thought it was just as easy as recording it
Yeah.
and then just dropping it, but it's not. It's a lot to it. There's promoting it and
Yeah.
trying to keep listeners, and then just consistency. That's one thing I learned. You can't like take a week off.
Yeah, I just did that. I'm trying to get back on the saddle because after the festival I was so beat up.
Right.
And now trying to get back on the horse. I'm gonna interview I think Shane Moss next week.
We've had him in here. We had him on the podcast once, I think.
Yeah, he's good. He's a
Great.
he's not really a Boston guy, but I know him from he started kind of in
Didn't
Boston.
he win the Boston?
No, he came in second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And but he did get the Aspen Comedy Festival out of the Boston Comedy Festival.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he won that.
Right.
And that got him, I think, Conan and he was the Comedian of the Year in Aspen. He got I think he got an agent. You could ask Shane about that, but he's never looked back. I mean, that was his last. The year that he came in second and Danny was first, Lewis Black came up, and I think there was some kind of change in his agency or something. So all these agents showed up
to get Lewis Black.
They were all looking at Lewis Black, and they just happened to be there to look at everybody else. And we've had a few years like that where stuff has happened, and
that's amazing how things can line up like that.
Yes,
for other comics too. Wow.
Yeah.
Shane's amazing. He has a. Have you ever heard his drug show that he does?
We had it at the festival this year.
It's great. Like,
we had He has one show that's science,
right? Yeah.
And one that's drugs, and we did both of them. We did one at the Rockwell Theater, one at.
I haven't heard the science show.
Yeah, he's got one on science, and it's interesting because he'll have a scientist on his podcast.
Right.
And it's a live podcast, and of course we have MIT in Boston, and
of course
Worcester Polytech, and a lot of great school, Harvard.
Perfect. Yeah.
So he's able to get people, and he's I don't really understand how he does. He must research.
Well, I like he's using comedy as a delivery system for information.
Yeah. Well, I want to learn from him. I'm gonna pick his mind a little bit about how he goes about marketing himself too, because now I talked to him at the Boston Comedy Festival. He no longer has an agent. He's hired someone that's kind of like an office administrator.
Really?
He books all his own stuff and markets all his own stuff, and he says he's not beholden to anyone.
Well, that's
and he's out there on the road doing 200 gigs a year, and he's figured it out.
Wow, yeah.
It's interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah. And like he did the festival, he had booked a Wednesday in Hartford and another day in New Hampshire. He booked all these spots around that.
Right.
And so he utilizes his time and space.
But he seems like a resourceful kind of person.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like not a lazy, wait for it to happen kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start using my thing to learn about comedy. Like I'm going to interview Les as soon as I can, because he did a course at the Boston Comedy Festival about how to be wise with your money, so when you start out, you don't end up penniless.
Right.
And that's information I think I and every comedian out there can use. Like what's the best way to squirrel a little bit away every month or every week?
Because I don't think you think about that when you're first
you
starting.
need to, because the time goes by so fast.
Right, exactly.
So fast. And I want to learn about it, And like debt, all this thing. Like when you go to high school, they should teach you how to handle your checkbook, how to handle credit cards or not handle credit cards, and how to,
They don't want you to learn that though. Let's be honest.
It's the most important thing.
I know.
What's more important? I mean, there's ethical things that might be more important than that.
Sure, yeah.
But survival-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather take that than calculus.
And the credit cards are so predatory that they send. I think I'm all caught up on my credit cards at this moment.
Right? Exactly.
But they send me checks in the mail.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like you could just buy something with these checks.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Just to try and entice you.
They're trying to entice me to do anything.
That's what I'm saying. They're not gonna, like, if anything, they're gonna try to prevent the school board from doing something like that, like teaching some kind of course on that. They don't want you to have any knowledge going in to that.
Ron, you okay? You just listening for your spot to go up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they're super predatory. I remember when I turned 18. It's just like I got every single credit card in the.
Well, yeah, I did too. And then you go, oh great, now Greg Carey, who's a really really funny comedian and a good friend of mine. I live with him in New York. But he used to have a great bit. It's like it used to be, well, I'm only going to use this for emergencies, and then suddenly happy hour is an emergency. You know what I mean? Like,
an emergency.
I think that's his line.
Yeah.
And he used to have another great line. He used to say American Express is great, but they were really aggressive in getting their money back. They'd say, we have your mother, and he'd say, will that cover it?
Exactly. It's not gonna, I can put it on my tab. Yeah, they should. I mean, when I did I was up in East St. Louis for the World Series of Comedy, I think they call it.
Okay.
And
I thought that was in Vegas.
They used to do it in Vegas, but I guess they're cutting costs. So we were in East St. Louis.
That's interesting.
Right, and we were at this weird Casino Queen hotel or whatever, which is like kind of like it's like a knockoff casino almost. Not like It's like almost
like
a
reservation or something.
Yeah, it's not really a casino. Like,
right.
But so we were there, and Les taught a course on that, on being financially secure as a comedian, and there was a bunch of different seminars that week, and that one probably had the highest attendance.
You know, the challenge I have in Boston is I try to do a bunch of seminars, but there's so much going on in Boston. And all the New York acts, they shuttle back and forth. It's 4 hours away.
Sure, yeah.
And that's a big percentage of the acts. They all come up from New York.
Yeah.
It's great because you make connections. You hang out with all these guys that are in New York.
It is good.
And, you know, the Boston guys can, you can stay at crash on my couch and I'll crash on, all that kind of stuff. That is so helpful.
It's so super helpful, yeah.
Yeah, but the downside is to try to get stuff during the day going. I think Les did his class. He was happy with it, but I don't think he had more than a dozen people.
Really, yeah. Well,
But they loved it. I mean, the word I got back was,
very helpful, yeah.
yeah,
Because you just don't think about that side of it. You're like, comedy will take care of me, and then I don't think, no, it might not, I don't know.
yeah, right,
Not everybody can be the top 1% comedian, so.
right. Listen, there's a lot of us out there making a living, but it's
Right.
not like, you're chugging through life, and you got to, like every other mere mortal, you got to
Right,
be,
exactly.
thinking about tomorrow, and I think it's
Scary
It's
to
a
think
very
about.
valid thing to look into,
Right. It scares me to think about it though, like just like what's my 10-year goal? Like what's my, even
Right.
5-year goal? It's like it's daunting sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'll tell you this what you're doing here, I think is fascinating. I think that like never before, comedians can create their own content wherever they are in the world. Their
Right.
podcast, a character on YouTube,
something, yeah.
something to and if you do and you get a huge following, believe me, the agents will come to you.
Yes, exactly.
If you have 150,000 listeners on your podcast, you're going to get a phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can also monetize that right away, which will finance if you did make a move. You'd have that, mailbox money,
Yeah, exactly.
or it's not even mailbox money anymore. It's just digitally sent to your bank account money.
Exactly.
Passive income,
Which is great for a comic, especially.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So you can just travel anywhere, and
Yeah.
that's part of that's what enticed me anyway. Like it was, getting laughs was amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
But just the freedom of what the job entails. Like you get to go to other places.
Right.
It's just rare, unless you're like a traveling book salesman or some shit. I don't know any other realistic job that you can do like that. So
Yeah.
I really have fun with that. And I've only done like maybe 2 gigs outside of Florida, but
Right,
it was
right.
still like very exciting for me.
Yeah.
It was,
Well, it helps you. Like, you should do as many different kinds of gigs as you can, even though some of them will really beat
yeah,
the bejesus out of you.
right.
If you can learn a little bit from each one of them, you have
Yeah.
more arrows in your quiver, and you realize at some point it's not always you.
Right.
You did the best you could. It was an unwinnable situation. And
Sure.
You're like a raging bull. You just try
Right.
not to go down.
Right. Exactly. Well, I like the hell gigs for the stories. They're great. Like
Yeah.
they're so much fun to tell. But in the moment, yeah, they suck. They're like, this is the worst thing ever.
I was on BZ is an AM station in Boston. It's like, I think it's 50,000 or 100,000 watts. It's AM though, but so it's
Okay.
like a midnight to 5.
Right.
And I'm trying to pitch shows that I got coming up and
Yeah.
trying to stay awake. And I'm telling the guy all these hell gig stories. The
Yeah.
story of I was on Royal Caribbean and the boat hit the thing, and
Oh, jeez.
I actually got fired from this gig. It's on another gig. I'm in the army and mortars come in. All these stories.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, I drove on, what did like 6 people hear that? Like, what am I doing? Like, and I get a call from Stephen Wright
No shit.
on my cell phone. I'm like, he's like, of course Stephen Wright was the one listening at 3:30 in the morning. Of all the people on earth, he was the one listening to AM radio.
Of course. Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, man," I can't do an impression. He was
Yeah.
like, "Did that really happen?"
Well, I know for about the past 15 minutes, most of y'all been sitting there thinking, look at this stuff.
So he's like, "Did that really happen?" I'm like, he goes, "Those are really great stories. You should do them on stage." I'm like, "They're entertaining because you work theaters."
Right.
Like, what is my life? Like, I haven't done my last hell gig. I got another one any time now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
any day now.
It's not that
I got
funny
another
for-
hell gig coming. It's like I get
You're just counting down the days.
I got great gig. Oh my, what happened?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So
I do a joke about mine. About my first paid gig was at a strip club at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Father's Day.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, I remember when they asked me to do it, and I was like, I asked another comic to do it with me, and he was like, "Hell no, that sounds terrible." And I was like, "What's the point, right?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, why would you put yourself through that?" And I was like, "Well, it's gonna be a great story, hopefully." And like that's the only reason I did it. It was fucking 5 people, and like it was a terrible idea for comedy.
Huh.
But you know, like that's what everybody told me to do. Take those gigs. You have to go and you know, you have to. I don't know. It makes you stronger, I think.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I want to talk to you about was actually, I noticed you do like a ton of crowd work in your act. And it was like, when you were first starting, was that like always a plan for you? Or did you just kind of naturally?
I just started doing it because I had to.
To fill time kind of thing? Or?
And it kind of worked for me, so I did more.
Yeah, you're very good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah,
you're a headliner
thank you.
with it. But I mean, every time I see
Well, you know, when I started doing it in Boston, there used to be a lot of guys, they all came out of the Ding Ho, and they're all amazing.
Right.
But they were very controlling of the comedians that were their support acts.
Right.
And they didn't like guitar acts, they didn't like prop acts, and they didn't like crowd work acts.
Right.
And they did not want you talking to the crowd. They wanted you doing monology, you know, doing material. And so it wasn't something that I was really celebrated for.
Right.
And so I learned to write material. I write quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
And so that I didn't have to do it.
Right.
But then as it's funny now. It's like everybody wants to do it, but it was like I took some lumps for it.
Yeah. That's what they told me. Like if you're gonna middle for somebody, you don't do crowd work or whatever.
Well, what I used to do is I would close with 10 to 15 minutes of material, so that you train them back in with timing.
Right.
And you don't leave on crowd work. At least that was a rule I made up. I haven't heard anyone else say it, but that
sounds about right though.
Yeah. So if you're gonna do 30, I do like 5 up front, so they know I'm funny. Then I play around a little bit, and then I end always with at least 10 minutes of material, so that the guy coming on after me doesn't have to clean up whatever I was talking about.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Depending on the act, there's some acts I know it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't. Their energy and everything, it doesn't matter. But especially if it's an act that is kind of low key or just conversational.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not a lot of super high energy or everything. Then I want to get them back in the listening mode.
Right.
And then usually I will always say when I finish, I go, "Hey man, now this part's over. This chit chat part's over.
Yeah, I've heard you do that.
Now, please kick back, listen, and enjoy the next comic, just to get them into that head." You know,
you're really thoughtful too, because Les is very good at crowd work, and he sets the table for me. He can make it a lot harder for me, and he doesn't.
Right. Exactly.
Because he's aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean when there really headliners that go into the crowd, that really enjoy going into the crowd, they're pretty rare.
Yeah.
That are good at it. You know what I mean? I mean, I mean, really, out of all the guys we book, I mean,
I can't think.
When you look at the comics now, you look at your stable of comics that you use on a regular basis, and it was really enough that covered a year, and now it's like enough that covers 2 years almost.
Right.
But when I look at that whole bunch that come here, there's really only, I don't know, 4 or 5.
Really?
Yes, not a lot.
Okay.
That I know are gonna go into the crowd. That's gonna be a big part of their show, and are the type like you that go, "Hey man, I know if I get the crowd zoofed up, don't worry about it. I can. Unless somebody just goes off the fucking wheels,
Right.
I can pretty much handle them.
Yeah. But never say never.
Right. Yeah, because you get that nonsensical person, the drunk or the nonsensical.
There are people that
one
cannot be shamed. They cannot be.
Right. And
there's a certain percentage of our population that they have a handicap.
Yes.
They're not hearing the same music.
No. That's right. When I teach comedy, I tell the new comics, especially that are just taking the class, I go, don't talk to the crowd.
Right.
When you're first getting started. I know that was one of the things when I judge comedy competitions. That's a real strike against them when they start doing
crowd work.
Because I'm going, you have such a confined amount of time.
Right. I would do crowd work.
And I go, why are you doing crowd work? It's so inefficient to time.
Yes.
You know, to get laughs per minute.
Sure.
Because you don't know.
Yeah.
You're gambling.
You're gambling a lot. Yes. Yeah. And you shouldn't be gambling in that situation.
And also, you're trolling. You know, like you don't. You know, you're going to get somebody, but sometimes you got to open them up a little bit. It might take you a couple minutes to get to it.
Oh, exactly.
And if you got a 6-minute set, you don't got a couple minutes to.
Oh, I know.
flush down the toilet.
I know. But like I say, every time I'm judging one and I see somebody goes in the crowd, it just flabbergasts me. I was like, why? I mean, immediately to me as a judge, I'm going, so you're doing 6 minutes, or even if you were doing 10 or 12.
You
right?
know,
You went into the crowd, and I immediately think, have you only got 7 minutes? Is
Right.
that your deal?
I did Last Comic Standing.
Yeah.
And I had to sit through the first. They do an empty. I think it's Tempe, Arizona, or somewhere like that.
Right.
And I had another gig the next day, and our friend Barb North
Yeah.
kind of helped me get that. And but anyway, so I go there, and the first thing goes well. Then you do the empty room with the celebrities who judge you. Then I get through that, and then they go, "We like your material, you know, but we're not going to use you. You're not the right demographic for us. But we'll tape you tonight, and we'll probably use your material for our ads and stuff like that."
Right. So you might get some
I've
face
been I've
time.
been up for 14 hours. I'm a little pissed off.
Yeah.
So I do my opening line, go right into the crowd.
Yeah.
And they come running down the aisles with the cameras. The director didn't know I was going to do it.
Damn.
And he was not happy.
Yeah. Good.
But they did use my opening line for their national radio ad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
Nice.
But I was just like, you tell somebody before
Before
that he's
you're
not going to win.
right. Well, they're not even going to consider you.
Not even consideration.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. And it's, that the thing about I think in so many
now I
contests
question
that
too,
you-
like if I should just done
Yeah.
my material and try to kill and have them try to say I can't win it, but
But they'd already decided.
They decided, yeah.
Your age, your look, whatever.
Right.
They'd already made that decision. And, it's like, I mean, that's what, I mean, don't get me wrong, contests can do wonderful things for people, you know, and most of the time it does something wonderful for one or two people,
Right.
Out of everybody. But, I remember back in the days of Star Search, when Star Search was the first thing that popped up. And the first time I went and auditioned for Star Search, it was me, Sinbad, and a comic named Jerry Elliott, who was out of Michigan. Sinbad was a solid headliner then.
Oh, sure.
I think Jerry was probably headlining. I was a good middle. And, we'd been touring for a while and shit. And, I mean, you walked in, it was that thing, no audience.
Yeah.
Where you walk into a banquet room
Right.
with 4 people and a camera, no one laughs, and I mean, all 3 of us just went, well, that was just fucking stupid.
Awful.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they got out of it, and it was just ridiculous. Even Sinbad did not get on that time. It was later. And then, a year later, they had an audition at the Punchline in Atlanta. And this was in the mid-'80s, or late 80s, mid-late 80s. And Punchline in Atlanta, there was not a hotter room in the United States than the Punchline in Atlanta. I mean, if you couldn't do well there, fuck it.
Yeah, right.
Their crowds were amazing. And there must have been 15 of us that went up. And, 5 minutes or 7 minutes or something like that. Everybody that went up was either a strong middle or a headliner. Every single one. I think Foxworthy went up.
Wow.
I think J. Anthony Brown was in that group. I think who else? Maybe Tim Wilson. I mean, there were some guys that later became famous
big
guys.
guns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big guys. You know what I mean? And I opened it. I opened the thing. And I mean, everybody had a killer set. Not one lackluster set.
Yeah.
And they didn't choose one person.
Oh, well.
And I was like, how the fuck could that even happen? I mean, it just made, that's where I just went, these contests are fucking too weird
The Star
for me.
Search thing, a friend of mine. You know Tony V probably. He's a
Yeah, I
friend
know
of mine
he
from
is.
Boston. He's a really funny guy. But he went to Star Search audition. He thought it'd be funny. He wore a Star Trek outfit, and they got really mad. He's like, "I'm sorry, was this an audition for?"
Right.
And they did not see the humor in it whatsoever.
Nice. But it is. I mean, you know, it's you know, a lot of people don't. The average public don't realize that, like, America's Got Talent. You know, when you talk to like Preacher, who's done Lawson, who's done real well off of it. He didn't win it, but it's made his career, no doubt about it.
For sure.
But he had he had the perfect kind of set, and I went, "How? Walk me through it." And he goes, "Les, you never do more than 2 minutes.
Right.
You never really do more than 2 minutes. So through the whole course of the show, all the way to the finals, you're not exposing more than 10 or 12 minutes.
Oh, I didn't realize it's that low.
I don't even know it's that much.
Yeah.
Maybe 7 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know
or
that.
something.
He said
Because
7
I thought
or
it was
8.
a strategy thing, like, you know, because who was the guy? Josh.
Blue.
Yeah, Josh Blue. I didn't even watch the show I was on.
Now Josh Blue was Last Comic Standing.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
what are you talking
which
about?
Preacher Lawson was America's Got Talent.
Oh, okay.
America's Got
Yeah, I
Talent.
never watched that one either.
You
I
know.
know Tommy Cotter came in second on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think in Last Comic Standing they do see a little more material,
Okay.
I believe, from people
yeah.
explaining it to me, but it's not a lot.
Right.
I mean, I want to say in Last Comic Standing they're probably not seeing more than 15 minutes or
Yeah, if you make it to
know.
the finals, I think it's something.
something like that.
I mean, it's like it's still on scheduled TV.
Yeah, so
they
your
can't-
time is so tight. Of course, obviously, you just got to be, you know, to me, you just got to be a tight one-liner guy,
Right.
or super high energy and super animated.
Right.
Oh, I guess.
We're in trouble with Ron.
Oh, he was hearing us.
Oh.
Were we too loud?
I guess.
Well, probably we were laughing. I'm going to get me some coffee.
Nobody can hear us back here. That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I usually leave the door open because
So we can hear. Yeah.
so we can hear the laughter and hear
Yeah.
what's going on. You know.
All right. Well,
But sometimes I've been on stage and I could hear the guys
Really?
in here. Yeah,
Oh, well.
yeah. Sometimes
might be throwing them off.
Yeah.
You can't rattle this, though. You throw rocks at him, he's still going to stay up
No.
there. He'd be doing his material, he'd be saying, I'm going to have to sweep up some gravel after my set.
No. Well, we've all done so many of those one-nighters
Yeah.
where, you know, the crowd's not, you know, you don't have their attention at all,
Oh, man.
and you just.
That's the worst.
Yeah,
That's why
And of course, Ron's never experienced that.
Yeah, I'll wear this out, but it's like, I think comedians are like hockey players because you never know when you're going home with your own teeth. Because you go up there, if you get cocky before the show. You know,
Yeah.
These shows at McCurdy's have been amazing all week, but I'm not trusting it.
No.
You know, it's that one angry bull, the Widowmaker, that they pull in. And you go, whoa, where'd that bull come from? You know, it's got one eye.
But we'll take them out. We'll take them out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And especially the one-nighters, you're much more likely to be in a scenario where the lights don't work, the sound doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
There's a game on the TV.
Ugh.
There's a
yeah.
shuffleboard machine. There's
The two.
or they don't know there's a show. It's a surprise show.
Exactly. They didn't even know there was going to be.
They want to watch a game. They turn it off. And they go, "Here's your comedian." Now you're the evil person that ruined their night out.
Oh God, yeah. I remember. You know, you've done it. Showed up at the one. I remember one was down here in Florida. It was in what was the city? LaBelle.
LaBelle.
It's in the country,
Right.
outside
Sounds
of
like
Fort Myers.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
out in the country.
Yeah.
And me and another act show up, and literally, it's just one of those little drinking bars.
Yeah.
You know, like a locals drinking bar.
Like a dive bar kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's like got a bar, maybe 2 TVs, if
Right,
that.
right.
This is back in the day before flat screens. You know
Sure,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Right.
So maybe 2 televisions up there. A lot of those bars had 1 television, right?
Yeah.
And there was a pool table in the middle of a small room, and I think maybe a jukebox, a cigarette machine. And we get in there, and there's literally like 10 or 12 guys at the bar, and we walk in, and nobody had any earthly idea that there was supposed to be a comedy show. So the bartender calls up the owner, and he was like, "Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah." He said, "Well, tell them go ahead and do their thing." And so we just literally looked at the guys at the bar and said, "Hey, here's the deal, man. If y'all are into it, we'll just sit here and tell you some jokes and shit." And we just literally propped ourselves up on the edge of the pool table and, sat there and bullshit around with a dozen guys. And it went okay. I mean, for that. I mean, you couldn't, because if you went in there with the attitude of, oh, there's no stage, but we always go in there with the attitude of going, well, can we pull something off to where the guy will give us our $150 and
Absolutely.
and take off, kind of a deal.
I had one of those in Bristol, Connecticut. There was a comedian. His name was Mike Mad Dog Adams. I've never seen him again, but he's a road guy. Lived out of his van almost or something.
Yeah.
And he, we both show up there, and there's nobody in the bar. There's 3 people.
Ugh.
And so I said to the guy, well, if you don't want to do a show, if you could just pay us half. It wasn't much money to begin with.
Right.
Just for our gas.
Right.
No, there's going to be a show.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I said, okay, if we do the show, we're going to want to get paid. I know. So do the whole show, finish the show. It's hard. It's a horrendous time stands still.
Right.
Right.
There's nobody there.
You have to shave twice during a set.
There's nobody there.
Cobwebs are growing off the side of your head.
Yeah.
And then and we get up to the guy goes, yeah, I can't pay you for that. And so I go, I'm taking the TV. And Mike was a pretty big guy. He goes, I'm gonna take that big ass Buddha. It'll look good in my garden.
Yeah.
And the guy's just looking at me. He goes, you're not gonna take my. I go, I'm taking the TV. He's taking the Buddha. And you best back away from that bar because we cleared this up ahead of time, and you knew this was coming.
Right.
He pulls out the money. He had it counted with paper clips on it. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to see.
They always try that.
I remember we played this club. There was a club up in Jacksonville, and it was called the Comedy Videotech. And once again, before flat screens, right? And so you walk in this place, and the showroom would hold about 150 people, and then there was a wall, and then there was another room area right behind the wall, between the wall and the bar, that had open arches, to the other, what I'm saying? And maybe you could put 40 or 50, and then they had these little booth bays, where people could sit.
Yeah.
And they had televisions every motherfucking where. They must have had 30, 40 televisions. And so they closed circuit the show on the televisions. It was, people were looking for concepts of something different, right? Well, the first time we went, it was packed. It was great. It was new. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We show up the next year, and we walk in the middle of the afternoon, Wednesday or whenever we get there. All the televisions are gone. And there's just wires right hanging from the wall. And so there's just the bartenders there, and there's nobody else. Nobody else is there at that point in time. He just kind of and so we're like, okay. He said, hey man, can we get a beer? He's like, yeah, okay. He said, just give us a couple Budweisers. He goes, I'm all out of Bud. Ooh,
you're out of Bud.
You're
That's
out of
not
Bud. So then when the manager got there, we went up to him. We said, hey, look, man, looks like you're having kind of a rough time here. He said, yeah, but we're kind of changing the concept and this, that, and the other. And we were like,
it's a Budweiser free concept.
We were like, listen, man, for real. We drove over from Sarasota.
Right.
Here's the deal. You need to pay us now for the week, or we'll just go home, But I'm not gonna look at this and be doing shows every night wondering if you've got enough money at the end of the week to pay me. So, and he did. They paid us up front.
Oh, that's cool.
But we were just looking at it going,
It's a bad feeling, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Les
sit
is
here
always
all.
smarter than me.
I'm not going to sit here all week
He's
long.
always, you can always learn, oh, I should have got the money before we went on stage. That's what we learned, listeners.
because we were close enough to home, 5 hours away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, kind of a deal. Just go ahead and take the money and run. But did you ever play Bear's Place, the Tom Sobel
Yes, I
tour?
did. Yes, I did once.
At Indiana University.
Yeah.
Tom told me that was the longest continuously running one-nighter he thought in all of comedy in the history of the United States.
I think they bragged
comedy.
about that. Yeah, I did a comedy cabaret, I think, in Kentucky first. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can that be right?
Yes, yeah. They're same guys.
Same guys.
That was
okay.
a weekend or week, right?
Yeah. And you did the week.
It was in Lexington.
And I think the Bear was the Sunday, was it? Or
It-
Monday, maybe.
It could have been because originally Tom Sobel, his original thing was, before he opened up a week-long room, was the Comedy Caravan.
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
didn't have a freestanding room.
Okay.
He booked one-nighters in bars in college towns. So you went Lexington, University of Kentucky, then you went over to University of Miami, Ohio, University of Indiana, Purdue, Ball State. Let me see. There were a couple others. There was about he had about 7 of these things strung together, and they were all about 2 hours apart.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal, and they were fun. They were set up well, and they were mostly college students.
Yeah.
And Bear's Place was just
I remember
in the
Bear's
run
Place,
of that.
but they had pictures all over. I mean, like famous people that had worked there. You know,
Wow.
I was like, whoa.
Now,
you know.
I was talking to Basil was here. Remember Basil? And we were talking about Bear's Place. I remember Bear's Place that the audience was above, like the stage was down. Like you walked down to the stage, like you were in an amphitheater.
Yeah.
Like it was the back room. You walked through the college bar, picnic
Right.
table college bar,
Right.
into the showroom, and then the audience set up and the stage was down. The audience was in the power position. He remembered it opposite. He thought the stage was high.
I don't remember either way. No.
And I remember because it was like, to me, I had never seen that before.
Yeah.
Where I'd done that in theater. I'd
Right.
played amphitheaters
Sure.
where the audience is above you.
Right.
But I'd never done comedy where the audience is definitely in the power position.
Right.
Yeah, right.
They are. And there was only one way in and one way out, that aisle way, through the audience. So if you did not do well, you had to leave
Walk of
through
shame.
them, the walk of shame. And but they were usually good crowds.
Yeah.
But I know I think the two that they bragged about that if you didn't do well, it was like live at the Apollo. They'd
Right.
start heckling you.
Yeah.
And I think that Roseanne and Paula Poundstone did not do well there. But just cause they're low energy.
I think it was like what's the lower in baseball? AA or AAA?
AAA, I think, right?
AAA. So
is lower.
Is it like lower on the rung of baseball?
Oh, okay. I was thinking the other way around, but you might be wrong.
Well, so anyway, whatever it was, I was on the lower end. Somebody hired me. I thought they were going to have me work at the clubhouse. I get there, they want me on the pitcher's mound
Right.
during a game. And the
What?
And the first act that's supposed to, do 30 and bring me up does, I'm going to say 4 minutes, about 4 minutes,
Wow.
and goes right into my intro. And then it takes me a minute to walk all the way out there to the pitcher's mound.
Did it go well at all?
No. And then so I start getting heckled by the home team, and I go, let's meet the home team. I go, come on out. And number 13, I go, this guy's going to be working in the public works department of his hometown, ladies and gentlemen. He's laughing at me, but he has no shot at the major leagues whatsoever.
His batting average. That's funny. That's great.
And they laughed, and kind of some of them weren't happy about that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
I go, let's see who else has no shot and is wasting their summer here,
Exactly.
and whatever it was, like in Western Mass.
Oh, God.
Wherever it was. But I don't even know. I'm sure I didn't do all my time either.
They asked me to do it here. They've asked me 2 or 3 times. Hey,
don't
why
ever
you come
do it.
out? Why don't you come out and do something? And I'm in a place where most of the crowd would even know me.
Yeah.
But still, I go. It's stupid.
It's
it's impossible.
It's not.
Do I got time to run for the bathroom before you bring
I can kill some time.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a run for it.
Okay, cool. No problem.
I was afraid to leave your broadcast.
Oh, no problem. You can do that.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, hopefully it didn't piss off Ron too much.
Well, I'm not concerned with that.
Well, you're not here.
I can tell you that for sure. Like I say, I've been on stage and heard.
Yeah.
But we purposefully leave the door open.
Well,
You know what I mean? Because we like to hear the ambient sound. We like to hear we like for the people who are listening to us now that are, as we're having this discussion, we like for you guys to hear that we're in a comedy club. There is a show going on.
You can hear it.
You know. But yeah, I don't know.
I never thought that though. That's funny that you could hear from the stage.
Yeah, it has to. We have to. But we got our voices project. We get big if we're in here really getting. And I'm sure that he's the only one hearing it.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? As far as that.
But
goes.
when you're trying to do like simple like setup punchline kind of jokes, it probably fucks with your rhythm a little bit.
Right.
So it does make sense to me.
Yeah.
But, that's funny.
Yeah. So.
Well, shit.
All
So we
right.
got one more show after this. And do you want me to do? Said like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
After you?
I'll go up and open the show.
Right.
Do about 10 minutes on the second show, and then you just come. I'll bring you out, and I'll say that you're going to host out the rest of the show.
Okay.
And, 5-7 minutes, whatever. Just bring them up.
All right.